Every year in the US, millions of people line up for cookies, juice boxes, and to do one of the most generous things that a person can do: donate blood. According to the Red Cross, 6.8 million people donated blood last year, giving away over 13 million units of whole blood. This blood becomes life-saving, as someone in the US needs blood or blood products every 2 seconds. Donated blood is used to help people with a variety of medical conditions, from cancer and cancer treatment to sickle cell disease to motor vehicle trauma. In 2022, because of pandemic-related dips in blood donation, the US blood supply dropped to its lowest level in over a decade, and the American Red Cross declared its first ever national blood crisis. Given this shortage, you may wonder, why don't we just pay for blood? Why can't we use financial compensation to encourage people to give more blood? Let's talk about it in this video. Human blood and blood products like platelets and plasma are unique because they can't be manufactured and must come from other people. These products also have a shelf life of about 40 days, which means there's an ongoing need to restock the national blood supply so that there's enough availability for those that might need it. Because blood is perishable and can only be obtained from people, a number of important issues come up around blood safety, availability, and ethics. Globally, there are 3 models used to provide blood for patients: paid donation, family replacement, and volunteer donation. In the US, we rely exclusively on volunteer donations, but this is not the case for a lot of countries. Paid blood donation is defined as donors who receive monetary compensation for their whole blood, and according to the latest WHO Global Status Report on blood safety and availability, countries like Georgia, Indonesia, and Vietnam collected tens of thousands of blood units through the use of paid donors. Other countries use a family replacement model, which means patients who need blood are required to provide their own donor at the time of transfusion, usually coming from a family member or someone close in the community. India is one country where this model is widely used, with about 1.5 million units of blood donated this way in 2013. That's about 15% of the total amount of blood collected that year. Overall, paid donation and family replacement models for blood collection are still prevalent in 56 countries. Contrast that with the United States, where we have 100% of our blood supply coming from unpaid volunteer donors. And that's a good thing. In general, it's suggested that the best quality blood and blood products are obtained from voluntary, unpaid donations. But why? Here's 3 reasons why voluntary donors are the best. The first issue is safety. If you've given blood in the US, you've probably seen one of these: a donor history questionnaire. This is a 2-page form that's filled out at every donation and asks about your past medical history, travel history, and certain higher risk behaviors. These are all things that might put you at higher risk for contracting certain chronic diseases or infections that could be transmissible via blood infection. Although blood is rigorously tested in the US prior to donation, not all infectious diseases have good quality screening tests. So asking donors about these risks provide a level of protection to ensure the blood is safe for others. For voluntary donors, because your motivation for donation is altruistic, there's no incentive to lie or misrepresent your history on the questionnaire. On the other hand, paid donors have a financial incentive, so they might withhold or misrepresent information that would otherwise make them ineligible for donation. So what about family replacement models for donation? You might think that family and community members wouldn't have the same financial incentives as paid donations. Well, according to the WHO, there may be a hidden paid donation system in which money or other forms of payment are actually provided to patients' families. Research on this topic suggests that donors in a family replacement model tend to be less informed or forthcoming about risk factors that would otherwise keep them from donating. Overall, the research shows that blood given by volunteer donors is the safest model compared to a paid or family replacement model. The second reason why volunteer blood donations are the best is because of blood availability. Remember that blood has a shelf life of about 40 days, and that means that blood donation has to be both steady and with enough volume to meet patient needs. At first pass, it may seem like paying for blood is a reliable way to ensure adequate blood supply, but donation systems that rely on paid donors must be able to afford blood products when they are most needed. That typically means the payments for blood increases when demand is high, leading to a less reliable blood supply, and those higher costs pass to the patient. For family replacement models, a patient's ability to receive blood is directly tied to their connections, which naturally means that there's going to be variability in blood supply. Research has shown that altruism is the most dependable motivator for establishing a sustainable supply of blood, and countries like the US that have a 100% voluntary donation have donors who give blood more frequently than paid donors and family replacement donors. The final reason for why volunteer donors are the best is the ethics around blood donation. There's a lot to say here, as the blood donation industry can be medically complex and morally fraught, especially when debating whether blood and blood products are considered gifts or commodities. But generally, between unpaid donors, paid donors, and family replacement models, there's a clear ethical winner. Family replacement models for blood donation can create unfair pressures on the donor to give blood and support their loved one. If the donor chooses not to donate, they may receive backlash from other family members. Families can also face financial difficulties in finding a paid donor if they're unable to get enough blood from within their community. Paid donor models can become exploitive and incentivize individuals who are struggling financially to donate even more, even if it's unsafe for them to do so. Ultimately, volunteer donation systems are the most ethically sound, allowing for expression of the donor's altruism with the recipient benefiting. In this video, I've primarily focused on the donation of whole blood, but you might be thinking, what about blood plasma? You can generate several $100s a month in income by donating plasma. In the next video, we'll take a deep dive on plasma donation and the commoditization of these blood products. Thanks for watching.